guys, and welcome back to another episode. So today we're going to talk about the Arms Warrior PvE guide for patch 8.1. So in this guide I will learn you how to play Arms Warrior in PvE. So I will go through the stats, the Azerite trait you need, the talents, and the gameplay such as rotation, such as opener and your cooldowns. So after you watch this guide you should be pretty good at playing Arms Warrior and definitely know what to do in which scenarios you could say. So again, but I'm going to build the core of your knowledge from Arms Warrior, and from that on it's your job to come up here from here. But I'm learning you the basics of Arms Warrior so you know exactly what to do and what to reach for. So let's go directly to it. So the first topic we're going to cover is the stats. So as you can see here, the stats. Poof. So Arms Warriors, you could say the most important at all is haste. Haste is like the omega for Arms Warriors, because haste is compressing the rotation. It makes your rotation more easy, more faster, more better, more damage. So haste is like omega in everything. So haste is reducing the cooldown on Mortar Strike, Skull Splitter and Cleave, and it makes Bladestone, Ravager, Rend and Deep Ones deal more damage, or you can say faster time. So haste is like so important. Also it reduces the attack, well the swings of your auto attack, it reduces the global cooldown, so what's not to like? So haste is like omega. After haste it's pretty important that you get critical strike, and critical strike is also increasing the range generated by auto attack swings by 30. So the more critical strike you get, the more rage you get and the more spells you can get. So you can say haste, critical strike. After that is versatility, and versatility is like, it's flat damage. It increases your flat damage and it's better than mastery, so that's what you have to think about. It's better than mastery. Mastery is also fine. I mean, masters increase the damage of your Dvalin, so that means when you deal damage, what is it called, by using Mortar Strike, Execute, Bladestone and Cleave, you put on a dot, damage over time like a bleeding, and mastery increase that dot's damage. But haste, critical strike and versatility is still better than mastery. Yeah. So, but again, haste, crit, versatility, mastery. Boom. Mic dropped. So that was the stats. Now it is the Azerite traits. So I'm starting with the outer ring for the first thing. So the outer ring we have here. So the favorite one of mine that I feel you deal most damage with is Test of Might. So Test of Might is a great Azerite trait. Let me sum it up for you. When Colossus Smash expires, your strength is increased by 29 for every 10 rage you spend during Colossus Smash. Lasts 12 seconds. It is great. I mean, if you use your Colossus Smash right and you use a lot of rage in there, it's beautiful. The next one I recommend is Blightborn Infusion. Your spells and abilities have a chance to draw a wandering soul from Frost to serve you for 14 seconds. The soul increases your critical strike by 1007. Of course it's skills, but you know, critical strike is your number 2 most important stat, so that is quite important. And the last one is Treasured Covenant. That can also be, it's really great. It's a new one that released with this new raid. It's a really great trait. It can be both be good and it can both be negative. But your primary stat is increased by 166, can scale, while you are above 50% health. So that means when you are over 50% health, you deal more damage. But you take 15% increased damage while below 20% health. So that means you deal more damage if you're high health, but if you're low health, you're easier to kill. So it's like, yeah. But again, if your healer is just keeping you up, it's pretty cool. It helps you deal more damage, and that should be the most important thing. The middle ring. So that was the outer ring. The middle ring. So the first one I recommend is Overwhelming Power. Basically, every time you deal damage, you have the chance to get a lot of haste. And as I said, haste is your most important stat. So, what's not to like? You want that haste? Exactly. Yes, you want. The next one is God Ripper, and well, you can say the next one is God Ripper and Heed My Call. So God Ripper is like more focused on single target damage, and Heed My Call is more focused on, you can say, spread damage. But still, I personally better like to have more God Rippers because it helps my damage on single target damage, and it's also like an execute because when the targets get below 30% health, it deals more often damage. So I look at it like an executioner. And Heed My Call is just like God Ripper deals damage sometimes, but it also deals damage to the spread around targets. So it's pretty cool. So Earl Helmet power is like Omega for you, but God Ripper and Heed My Call, great. If anyone, if they are under gear, just take any of them. Take any of them. So that was the stats and the Azerite traits, and we actually covered it on 6 minutes exactly. That is pretty impressive. The next thing we're going to talk about is the talents. So I will just switch over to my in-game screen, so be right back. And here we are at the talent screen. So let's go through each of the talents rows that I recommend on which talent you should choose. So for the first row we have Skull Splitter. That is pretty much my preferred one in any scenario. Though I would say that War Machine can actually be pretty great if you are in a dungeon. So for example a mythic dungeon where a lot of trash mobs is dying all the time, because killing an enemy instantly generates 10 rage and increase your movement speed by 30. So in a dungeon where everyone is dying all the time, you know, mobs is dying all the time, War Machine can be really great. But if not, you know, you just want to be top damage on bosses and all that, Skull Splitter is the one for you. Also, it fills out an extra global cooldown, it fills out the empty space where you don't really have anything to do as an arms warrior. So Skull Splitter is a really great one and help you generate rage. So I would say Skull Splitter is my favorite one. The next row, it's pretty much up to you. If you want to have an additional charge, then can help you to generate some extra rage. Or if you want to have a stun, you probably, if you're doing a mythic dungeon and you need a stun in the group, probably take Stormball. I mean, it gives you additional interrupt aside from your pummel. But double time is really great also, as it gives you additional charge that can help you generating 20 rage whenever you want. So up to you. On the next row, Massacre is the best one for single target damage, and Favor of the Battle is the best one for multiple targets. So Favor Battle, well, Whirlwind deals 10% increased damage and slams your primary target. That means if you use Favor Battle, you can pretty much remove Slam on your action bar and only use Whirlwind, because now Whirlwind deals more damage. Well, it deals more damage and it uses a free Slam. So that is quite cool. But it's not really recommended on single target, as Massacre is pretty cool, because now you can use Execute already on 35 and normally you can only use it on 20. That's 15% more faster you can begin to spam Execute on the boss. On a boss in a raid, it's excellent. If you probably go in a mythic dungeon where boss fights are not that long, Favor of the Battle is probably better for all scenarios. But in a raid, Massacre is going to help you getting top damage much more. The next row, it's up to you if you want to have lower cooldown on your heroic leap, if you want to have some auto healing, or if you want to have a defensive stance where you can pretty much just activate defense. Normally I play with this one because if I can see I get low and my healer is quite busy, I can just say, well, I will use my defense stance and now I cannot die. As it is. For the next row, this row is kinda weird. Nothing really increases your single target damage here, because, well, Cleave is not really good in any moments. Collateral damage is probably the one that most people take by default, but Warbreaker is also really great. If you combine Warbreaker with Avatar and use Bladestorm, those three spells, Warbreaker, Avatar and Bladestorm, is like the craziest AoE burst ever. I mean, if you use Avatar, Warbreak and then Bladestorm, you're getting top damage on no matter which pack you're getting. The Trash Mob pack, you will be the top damage if you use Avatar, Warbreaker and Bladestorm. It's insane AoE burst. So for so you can say for dungeons, I would 100% say go with Warbreaker, Avatar and use a Bladestorm on trash mobs. and it will make such a crazy damage. But in a raid, Warbreaker is not helping you at all on single target. So yeah, in a raid I would probably, it doesn't really matter. I mean, this row is kind of weird, and this one here just gives you, refund your rage, and this one here just makes your colossal smash dealing AoE damage. So it's like, which one do you want? So it's pretty much up to you. But you could also just say Warbreaker, because then you have an insane burst on trash mobs. It's pretty great. On the next row, for single target damaging, in for the kill is the best one. It's the best, it gives you more haste, and you know more haste is equal to more good. Everything is good. But in a dungeon with multiple trash mobs, I would probably go with Avatar, because again, Warbreaker, Avatar, and Bladestorm is crazy. But in a raid, where you have to do a lot of damage on single target bosses, I would probably go with in for the kill, 100%. Yeah. On the next row, Anger Management is the one I would take no matter what. It's going to reduce the cooldown on a lot of your important spells like Warbreaker and Bladestorm a lot. You can see it's actually it's only Warbreaker and Bladestorm, but it reduced the cooldown so much. Right now you can see the cooldown is 45 seconds, but if you use Anger Management correctly, your cooldown is only 30 seconds on Warbreaker. So that's pretty cool. And your Bladestorm, you can get that down to 1 minute instead of 1.5. So it's pretty great. So let's say if I go into a single target raid, I would probably have a spec that look like this. If I go into Mythic Dungeon where I want to use multiple damage on a lot of trash mobs, I would probably go with Avatar and War Machine. Skull Splitter is also nice. I mean, both of these two are nice. But again, probably the only thing I would change mostly is these two. Single target, trash mobs. Single target, trash mobs. Single target. Yeah. So I hope this learned you some quite cool things. So the next row is going to be the rotation and gameplay. So let's go down to the dummies. Okay, so here we are at the dummies. So we're going now through the rotation on how you should play as arms warriors. So the very important is every time you start a fight, you have to buff yourself up with Battle Shout. So Battle Shout is like very important because it gives you increased 10 attack power, 10% attack power, and it increases your damage. It's pretty great. It is pretty great. So the first thing you should do with every combat is always, this is the opener, always you should use charge. Charge helps you generate 20 rage, and you want that additional rage because you want it in your rotation. It's quite important. So let me just, before I just quickly do the opener. So the first thing I will do in the opener is I will charge to the target. After charging, I have, what is it? I have 20 rage. After I have used charge, I will use Warbreaker, so I deal 30% damage to the target, and it also deals a lot of damage just instantly. Poof. Then I will use Overpower, because Overpower deals good damage, costs no rage, and it increases my Mortal Strike's damage by 20%. And then I use Mortal Strike, and the reason for why using Mortal Strike is because I want to hold up my mastery. So my mastery is every time I deal damage, Mortal Strike, execute a Bladestorm, I'm dealing a damage over time. So it's very important you use Mortal Strike all the time because you want to keep up this damage over time all the time. And this debuff has, it's only on for 6 seconds, and your Mortal Strike has 5.3 second cooldown. So that means you should be able to keep that dot up all the time if you just use your Mortal Strike correctly. So again, I would charge to the target, use my Warbreaker, use my Overpower, and use my Mortal Strike. After using Mortal Strike, I should use Bladestorm, but only if you don't have, you're not allowed to use Bladestorm if you have 60 rage, because if you have 60 rage, you're going to overcap rage. So just use one slam to get some of your rage out and use Bladestorm. But if you're over 60 rage, never use Bladestorm because then you will overcap and it's not good. Okay. Also in your rotation, when you actually charge, you can use Skull Splitter before anything else, because Skull Splitter deals good damage and it gives you rage. But let's see how it is. So first I will try without Skull Splitter. So you can see here, I will charge, Ball Break, Overpower, Mortal Strike, Blade Storm. Mortal Strike, Slam, Overpower, Mortal Strike, Overpower, Slam. So before you get confused, so basically what I'm doing right now is, after I have used my main abilities, you can see I have to use Mortal Strike every time I can because I want to keep up my damage over time. So Mortal Strike is like, you have to use that all the time. So Overpower and Mortal Strike, use those two spells every time you can. Just use them every time you can. And of course also when Warbreaker is ready, you can use that one again. And now it's just important that you have some good burst while here. But it's very important, every time you can use Mortal Strike and Overpower, you use them. And now you can see I have a lot of rage, so I need to get some rage out. So I need to use some slams to get that out, that rage. Mortal Strike, Overpower, Skull Splitter. And remember, you can also add Skull Splitter to your rotation because it generates a lot of rage and it deals damage. But your Skull Splitter is basically just helping you to keep up your rotation. Because as you saw before when I started my opener, I had a moment where nothing really was to do except spamming Slam. So let's try my rotation again with Skull Splitter. So how can I dump off my rage very fast? Come on, don't get rage. Thank you. Let's see again how much rage we get if I use Skull Splitter in the opener, just to make sure that we don't overcap with Blade Storm. Okay, so charge, Skull Split, Wall Break, Overpower, Mortal Strike. The problem is, you can see I'm already overcapped now, and I would begin to use Blade Storm. That's not really ideal to use Skull Splitter in the start, because we get so much rage then it's not really ready. So I would wait with using Skull Splitter to later in the rotation when you actually don't have anything to do. Because when you finish the rotation, both Blade Storm and Warbreaker is going to be on cooldown, and that means you're only able to use Mortal Strike and Overpower to your most damage abilities. And then it's good to have Mortal Strike, Overpower and Skull Splitter in the rotation. And then of course you have Slam every time you have too much rage. So let's try it again. Come on rage, get off me. Okay, so let's try without Skull Splitter and wait with it. So charge, Warbreaker, Overpower, Mortal Strike, Blade Storm. And now I could use Skull Split, Mortal Strike, Overpower, Slam, Overpower, Mortal Strike, Overpower, Slam, Overpower, Mortal Strike, Slam, Overpower, Mortal Strike. So you can see the rotation is not hard. Arms Warrior is probably one of the easiest rotation I think in this game. So basically use Mortal Strike every time you can, use Overpower every time you can, use Skull Splitter when not having too much rage and it's not in your opener. Use Blade Storm every time you can, but don't use it if you have 60 rage. Then use some rage and then use it. And use Warbreaker every time you can, but first time you use Warbreaker, it will be ready again before Blade Storm. Next time, okay, so first time you use Warbreaker, the next time it's ready, your Blade Storm will still have a long cooldown. But number 3 time you use Warbreaker, it should be ready close to Blade Storm, and you should use it in combination with Blade Storm. So yeah, so that is pretty much the rotation and the opener for single target damaging. So for multiple targets then, you pretty much, when it's 1 to 2 targets, so like 2 targets, it's basically the same rotation, you just have to use sweeping strikes. So sweeping strike for 12 seconds, you hit additional target every time you use a single target spell, and it uses 75% of the damage. Your slam is dealing 4000 damage, and your whirlwind is dealing 2400. So that actually means when you already meet 2 persons, your slam is actually placed out with whirlwind. That means when you're against +2 targets, slam is not anymore preferable for using rage. Now it's actually whirlwind that is the best one, because it deals more damage and it also uses more rage. So on multiple targets, what I would do here is I would charge, wall break, sweeping strike, and now my normal rotation. Something like that. Skull split, mortal strike. The only problem is that I actually use Blade Storm together with sweeping strike, and sweeping strike is not really doing Blade Storm any, good. So maybe you should wait with Blade Storm until sweeping strike is getting off, and then use Blade Storm. Except the mob is only going to be alive for like 12 seconds, then it doesn't really matter. But it's basically the same rotation, the only difference is that you don't use slam, now you use whirlwind as a filler. And you use sweeping strike every time you can, so you use single target damaging abilities deal damage to additional targets. Pretty much that, I would say. Yeah. So that was pretty much the rotation. So I hope you enjoyed my Arms Warrior guide, and I must say I'm enjoying playing Arms Warrior. I must admit, after doing this guide, I'm actually now feeling like I want to play a lot more with my Warrior. Arms Warrior is actually quite fun. That was actually one of the most funnest guides to make. Arms Warriors is awesome. So yeah, so this was the stats, right, traits, talents, the gameplay, and how you play Arms Warrior. So leave down a comment. Are you playing Arms Warrior, and would you like to play Arms Warrior? What do you think? The only bottom of Arms Warrior I feel like is that I like to actually play a class where you can play a healer also. So that's probably why I play Paladin, because then I can play Retribution Paladin and I can play Holy Paladin. So I have like a healer and a damage. But as Warrior you can only tank and damage, and I like to have a healing spec too. So yeah. So thanks guys for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this Warrior guide. I enjoy playing Warrior. I mean, I played Warrior since Vanilla. I was a hardcore raider back in Vanilla. I was probably only 12 years old, but I still managed to be a hardcore raider as a 12-year-old. So yes, yeah. If you have any questions about Warriors, leave down a comment and I'm gladly to answer that. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and basically what I'm right now going around and thinking about is that I'm maybe thinking about getting a new computer, because when I play games like Anthem and Division 2, I can actually see my computer is pretty pressed, and when I record the quality is not really that good. So I'm thinking about using, a lot of money on a new computer, like with 260 GFX and an i7 9th generation, all those new things to get a nice gear. That could be pretty awesome. And I myself have a 120 Hz screen. Does any one of you have a higher than that, 120? And have you tried to see the difference between 120 and 144? Isn't it 44? And do you recommend a faster screen than 120? Because I'm like, I feel like my screen is fine, but maybe I should upgrade my screen. I'm not sure. But definitely I'm thinking about buying a new computer so I can make some more cooler content, maybe. I'm not sure. But again, a new computer is not really helping me in World of Warcraft. It's like, World of Warcraft can be played on pretty much any computer, so it's like, so whatever. But yeah. But again, thanks guys for watching. It was a honor for me to make this guide. I really love Arms Warrior. And here we go, patch 8.1 Arms Warrior guide. So thanks guys for watching. Have a great evening and see you out in Battle for Azeroth. And congratulations to Method for being world first on stream.